The wind of Erythra Prime howled across the red plains, carrying with it the scent of ionized metal and dust. Captain Arik Hale stood at the edge of the settlement's observation deck, watching the sky shift from orange to violet as the twin suns began their descent. His gaze, however, was not on the beauty of the alien landscape. It was on the activity below, the humans and Varelians going about their tasks, cautiously coexisting on a planet neither truly called home. Arik had been stationed here for nearly 2 years, tasked with maintaining peace between the human settlement and the native species. The Varelians were tall, slender beings with shimmering, semi-translucent skin and deep, luminous eyes that seemed to measure not just what you said, but the intent behind it. Humans and Varelians had never truly trusted one another. Skirmishes and disagreements were common, and diplomacy required constant vigilance. But today, something felt off. A tension hummed in the air like the quiet before a storm. Arik scanned the settlement, noting the clusters of Varelians teaching young humans to navigate local terrain, and the humans cautiously returning gestures of goodwill. He was proud of the fragile harmony that had developed. Still, his instincts told him it was fragile, easily broken. Then he saw her, a small figure darting between the taller Varelians. A child, Lyra, the youngest daughter of Soraya, the Varelian council elder. She was laughing, chasing after a glowing insect-like creature that flitted across the settlement plaza. Her laughter was pure and unguarded, unlike the cautious tones of the older Varelians. For a moment, Arik allowed himself a smile. Children, he thought, were the same everywhere, innocent, curious, fearless. But then came the sound of the storm. It was sudden. Erythra Prime's weather was notoriously unpredictable, but no one had expected a magnetic storm to whip across the plains so early. Winds lashed the settlement, sending dust into the air like choking clouds. Equipment shook and holographic displays flickered and died. Humans shouted, trying to herd the children and secure their own shelters. Lyra, oblivious to the danger, continued to chase the insect. Her small legs carried her further from the safety of the plaza, straight toward the open plain. Arik's instincts kicked in. Without thinking, he sprinted after her. The wind tore at his uniform and shards of debris struck his arms and face, but he pushed on. Lyra's laughter turned to cries as she stumbled near a deep fissure in the planet's surface. The magnetic energy in the storm caused the fissure to spark with unstable arcs, and the ground quaked beneath her. "Lyra!" Arik shouted, diving in front of her just as a surge of energy from the fissure hit. The force slammed into him, knocking him to the ground. Dust and sparks clouded the air. Lyra shrieked but was safe behind him. Arik groaned, feeling every joint protest, but he forced himself to stand, shielding the child with his body. Seconds felt like hours, but the storm passed as quickly as it had arrived. Humans and Varelians rushed toward them, assessing the situation. Arik's uniform was torn, scorched in places, and his face was streaked with dirt and small cuts. But Lyra was unharmed. She clung to his arm, eyes wide with awe and fear. "Captain Hale, you saved her," one of the Varelian guards said, his voice trembling in disbelief. "No human has ever—" Arik waved him off, coughing from the dust. "She's just a child," he said simply. "I couldn't let anything happen to her." Lyra's small hands found his, gripping tightly. Her wide, luminous eyes searched his face. "Thank you," she whispered. Arik smiled weakly, but his relief was cut short by the arrival of Soraya. The Varelian elder approached with measured steps, her presence commanding attention. Even in the chaos, her tall, elegant form seemed to radiate calm authority. The settlement fell silent as she stopped in front of him, her eyes locking onto Arik's. "You saved my child," she said, her voice steady but edged with intensity. "For this, human, you will answer to me," Arik blinked. "Answer to you?" Soraya nodded. In Varelian culture, any being who risked themselves to protect a young Varelian owed a debt. That debt was not symbolic. It required acknowledgement, a gesture of honor, or sometimes, depending on the elder, companionship in learning or guidance. It was a serious matter. Arik's mind raced. He had acted instinctively. He had not considered obligations or politics. He had simply acted, and now it seemed that act carried weight far beyond what he had intended. Soraya did not wait for him to respond. She turned and began walking toward the council hall, signaling for him to follow. Arik hesitated, glancing at Lyra. The child looked up at him with wide eyes, still clinging to his sleeve. "Go," Arik said gently. I'll be okay. Lyra nodded reluctantly, and Arik followed Soraya, his body still aching from the storm's blows. Every step toward the council was a step into the unknown. The council hall was an architectural marvel, a fusion of human engineering and Varelian design. Towers of crystalline material reflected the settling sunlight, and open chambers allowed the breeze to pass through freely. Inside, the Varelian council members sat in a semicircle, their glowing eyes fixed on him. Silence greeted him. Soraya stepped forward. "Captain Arik Hale," she said, voice echoing. "You risked your life to protect my daughter. In doing so, you have invoked the law of protection. You owe a debt not to me, but to all who govern the safety of Varelian children." Arik swallowed. I didn't think. Soraya raised a hand. "Expectations are irrelevant. What matters is action. Your courage has proven humans capable of honor beyond protocol. But now you must stand before the council to be acknowledged. This is not punishment, it is recognition and understanding." He nodded slowly. Humans rarely expected their heroics to be recognized in such formal terms. For him, bravery had always been instinctive, a part of who he was. But he understood. The Varelians measured honor differently. This was their way of showing respect. As the council deliberated, Arik realized something profound. The Varelians had always considered humans reckless, primitive in thought and action. Yet in their eyes he had demonstrated something more. Humans acted from intuition, empathy, and a willingness to sacrifice for others. That was a trait the Varelians admired even if they did not fully understand it. Soraya returned, her expression softened. "The council has spoken," she said. "You will come with me, not as a captive, not as a subject, but as a representative of your people. You will learn, and in return we will understand you." Arik's heart raced. This was more than he had expected. He had survived the storm, saved a life, and now he was being offered a bridge between two worlds. The responsibility was immense, but he felt a spark of pride. Humanity had a way of surprising even the most skeptical aliens. That night, Arik stood again on the observation deck, looking out at the red plains. The twin suns had dipped below the horizon, leaving streaks of deep purple across the sky. He thought of Lyra, of Soraya, and of the council. Tomorrow he would step into an unfamiliar world, one governed by rules he barely understood. But he also knew this. Humanity had survived countless challenges by acting with courage and heart. And no alien culture, no matter how advanced or wary, could ignore the strength of a human willing to stand for another. As he prepared for the journey with Soraya, he felt a quiet determination settle within him. This was not just about honoring a debt. It was about showing that humans were capable of extraordinary things, even in the eyes of those who doubted them. And on Erythra Prime, under alien suns, a human's quiet heroism would become the first step in a new chapter of understanding. The morning light spilled across Erythra Prime, casting long, crimson shadows over the crystalline towers of the Varelian Council Hall. Captain Arik Hale stood at the edge of the settlement plaza, his uniform still bearing the marks of the previous day's storm. The dust had been swept clean, but the memory of the magnetic storm, of Lyra's terrified eyes, and the weight of Soraya's expectations remained vivid in his mind. He adjusted his jacket and took a deep breath. Today was not about his comfort or convenience. Today he was stepping into the heart of Varelian society, representing not only himself but all of humanity. He reminded himself of what he had always believed. Humans survived and thrived because they acted with courage and empathy. It was instinctive and it was powerful. Soraya approached silently, her tall figure moving with grace that seemed almost to float. She regarded him with calm authority. "The council is ready," she said. "They will listen to you, human, and they will judge the value of your people not by their weapons but by their hearts." Arik nodded. "I understand." The path to the council chambers was unlike anything Arik had ever seen. Unlike human architecture, which often emphasized efficiency and strength, the Varelian structures were fluid and organic, as if grown rather than built. Light refracted through translucent walls, creating patterns that danced across the floor. The air was warm but carried a subtle electrical charge, a reminder of the planet's untamed energy. Inside the chamber, the council awaited. 5 Varelian elders sat in a semicircle, their luminous eyes reflecting a spectrum of colors. Soraya moved to the center, gesturing for Arik to step forward. "Captain Hale," she began, You have acted with courage and wisdom. The child Lyra would not be alive without you. You have invoked the law of protection. Now you must demonstrate the principles that guided your actions so that the council may understand humanity. Arik cleared his throat, feeling the weight of all eyes upon him. I did not act because of law or honor. I acted because it was right. A life is valuable, and no one should be harmed if it can be prevented. My people, we believe in standing for others even when it is difficult. That is how we survive, how we thrive, and how we grow. The council remained silent, their glowing eyes fixed on him. For a moment, Arik feared his words were meaningless. Then one elder, her skin shimmering a deep blue, spoke. Humans speak of instinct and honor, yet you act without ceremony, without the rituals that guide us. How can we trust actions not bound by law? Arik met her gaze. Trust is earned by action, not by ritual. You have seen what I did. I made a choice in an instant without thought of reward. That is the measure of my people. A ripple of murmurs passed through the council, their voices like musical notes vibrating through the chamber. Soraya nodded slowly, then gestured for him to follow her deeper into the council complex. The next chamber was open to the sky, with platforms suspended over a shallow basin of iridescent water. Here, the council tested understanding not through words but through challenges. Arik was asked to navigate a section of the structure that mimicked the planet's dangerous terrain. Unstable walkways, sudden shifts in balance, and unpredictable gusts of wind. It was a simulation of the storm he had faced while saving Lyra. At first, Arik hesitated. Humans were agile, yes, but the architecture was unlike anything he had trained for. Yet he focused, relying on observation, intuition, and his innate ability to adapt. Where others might panic, he moved with careful precision. He balanced on narrow platforms, anticipated gusts of wind, and adjusted his steps with split-second timing. Soraya observed quietly, a faint smile touching her lips. Lyra's small face appeared at the edge of the platform, eyes wide, silently cheering him on. Humans had a strange quality, she realized. Resilience tempered by quick thinking, courage tempered by care. Unlike the Varelians, who relied on rituals and calculations, humans relied on the power of instinct. It was something the council could not ignore. Finally, Arik reached the center platform where the council awaited. He bowed slightly, acknowledging their authority. I have done what I could, as I always do. I act to protect, to solve, to help. That is what it means to be human. The eldest elder, her skin shifting from violet to silver, rose and spoke. You have demonstrated more than courage. You have shown understanding, adaptation, and empathy. These are traits that transcend law. Your people are remarkable, perhaps more remarkable than we believed. Arik felt a surge of pride, not for himself but for humanity. They had long been underestimated, dismissed as reckless and primitive. Yet here, before an alien council, their true nature, caring, clever, courageous, was being acknowledged. Soraya stepped forward. Captain Hale, you are free of obligation in the formal sense, but you have done more than repay a debt. You have built a bridge between our species. You are welcome to teach, to share, and to learn, and in return we will honor your people. Arik nodded, absorbing the weight of her words. He had come expecting a formality, perhaps a reprimand or a ritual. Instead, he had helped redefine the relationship between humans and Varelians. Lyra ran forward, wrapping her small arms around his legs. Thank you, she whispered. I knew you would save me. Arik smiled, ruffling her hair gently. Always, Lyra. Always. Over the next weeks, Arik worked closely with Soraya and the council, learning Varelian customs and sharing human methods of problem-solving. Humans introduced engineering solutions to stabilize settlement structures against magnetic storms, and Arik's suggestions for resource management impressed even the most skeptical elders. The Varelians, in turn, taught humans techniques to navigate the planet's unique environment. Arik marveled at their precision and logic, but he also noticed the limitations of their rigidity. Humans, he realized, could adapt quickly, improvise, and act from intuition. It was a combination that had allowed them to thrive on a planet that was both beautiful and hostile. One evening, as the twin suns set and cast a golden glow across the settlement, Soraya approached Arik. Your people have shown us that strength is not just in numbers or rituals, she said quietly. It is in courage, in selflessness, and in the heart. Humans, you are different in ways we respect and admire. Arik shook his head, smiling. We're not perfect, but we try. That's what counts. Soraya's eyes softened. It is enough. And it will be remembered. You have not only protected my child, Captain Hale. You have earned a place in the history of our people. Perhaps even as an example of what cooperation between species can achieve. Arik looked out over the red plains of Erythra Prime, the wind carrying the scents of the alien world. He thought of Lyra, of the Council, and of humanity's potential. They had survived countless worlds, countless dangers, not because of strength alone, but because of courage, empathy, and the willingness to act when it mattered most. And here, on a distant alien world, that human spirit had made a difference. The journey back to the human settlement was filled with quiet reflection. Arik understood that this was only the beginning. Bonds had been forged, understanding had been established, and humans had proven once again that they could rise to challenges no one else would dare face. Lyra ran ahead, laughing as she chased after an alien bird, and Arik followed, smiling. Soraya walked beside him, her presence a quiet reminder of the trust that had been earned. In the end, it was simple yet profound. A human had acted to protect a child, and in doing so had changed the hearts of an entire species. That was the essence of humanity's greatness: courage, compassion, and the quiet power to inspire even the most skeptical eyes. As night fell on Erythra Prime, the stars of two distant systems shone down. For the first time, humans and Varelians shared the same sky, the same hope, and the same understanding. And Captain Arik Hale knew that this was only the beginning of a bond that would last for generations.